Welcome back with your boy. This is the Asset Protection with the Asset Protector, Pastor Richard Williams. And today I'm talking to a very special guest about a very important topic, homelessness and sexuality. And it's a topic that most people don't think of when you think about homelessness. Well, regardless of where you are, where you're traveling from, where you're hailing from, wherever you go, there's always going to be two things. It's going to be discrimination and it's going to be exclusion. Those two things by nature of just being a Homo sapien or a human being, that's just one of the things that we have to deal with. And so what we are doing is that we are trying to tear down or deconstruct, if you will, that wall of discrimination and to replace that with love and unity and building community development, community involvement, and unity. So we left off and we talked about Jason shared with us his personal perspective on homelessness. He talked about his role in homelessness, and we'll get more into depth with what it is that he's doing to combat homelessness and to get people on the other side, on the positive side of homelessness. As I've stated several times in my past videos, homelessness is a state of mind. Just because you're in a situation of lack doesn't mean that that's who you are. If you are in a state of having a lot, you have the haves and have nots. If you have a lot of wealth, that does not identify who you are. So just because you have a lot of money and because you have a lot of stuff and things, it doesn't give you the right to be an anus hole. You get my drift. You don't have to be an anus hole or a whole anus. You don't have to be that. You can be nice and compassionate because the same God that gives us is the same God that taketh away. And just because you have these things today, perhaps you may not have always had them. And even if you have always had them, it could come a day and time that you could lose them. So have compassion for your fellow man. Again, we're talking to Commissioner Jason Buckley. Jason is commissioned over the LGBT Community Advisory Commission in the city of Newark, New Jersey. He also serves proudly as the program director of an asylum shelter in the city of New York. So he has several hats that he's wearing in this capacity to combat homelessness and help individuals who identify as LGBTQ to help those individuals to have a perpetual understanding of what it takes to get out of homelessness, as well as providing resources for those individuals to get right side up on the plus side and becoming people who are homeowners or definitely renters. So I want to start this off by asking you this question, Mr. Bunkley. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face personally or observed in this fight?
Hmm. Within the fight to eradicate homelessness,
Homelessness and in LGBTQ as well, and just take just a few moments to discuss both.
one I will say for homelessness, right? I would say funding. I think that sometimes there are not enough dollars um, put in place to eradicate homelessness in our city.
Mhm.
And when I say that, meaning not just like not the answer is not just putting people in shelter, but of course we have a housing crisis, as well. So it's that plays a part to that. So being able to figure out how do we adequately and successfully house people
Mhm.
in our communities and give them permanent housing and put things in place that will minimize or reduce or eliminate them ever being homeless
Mhm.
again. Because we do see people have their they have a cycle of homelessness for certain people. Um, Within the LGBT community, I have found that, over the years, just sometimes we find more things to separate the community than coming together and even um, lacking a desire to understand. And let me be clear, just because we can gain an understanding that doesn't necessarily make us have to agree, right? But gaining the understanding is so important, so then we can have more progressive conversations. And if I understand you better, then at least I can be in position to find a way to better support you, and to bring resources and or create a better opportunity for the specific community. And that's part of my role with being on the part of the commission boards, right? How do we find out finding out information, becoming more aware of what's happening in the community, and then being able to find creative ways to address it and to also to make the current administration aware of it, as well. And our goal is to is to come up with progressive solutions to eradicate whatever the concern may be, or to create a better
Mhm.
space for the community.
When you create those different ideas, things that could be done to make it better, where do you take those to? Do you take those up through the commission, or do you take those up through your upline, your management? What does that look like on a day to day for you in trying and in your fight to get resources? I know that ending homelessness is almost like um, cutting yourself and expecting your friend or your enemy rather to bleed. But so it just doesn't make sense. But what are some things that you're doing? Well, who do you go to directly to say we need these resources? So we're going for more outreach, and the question is what can be done. But when you have an idea on creative resources and creative solutions, who do you go take those to?
Well, definitely, working in being a director for a shelter, I for things or gaps that I see within my location, I definitely take that to probably to my executive director or the COO of the organization, and being able to talk to him or her and to make them aware of what, the challenges that we're experiencing, or or the gaps that we may have, and to say, hey, here are the gaps, and here are some things that we think would be great to fill in the gaps, so that we can, at the end of the day, it's about being able to serve the community better. It's about being able to create more opportunities for housing, create more opportunities for employment opportunities that will allow them to save, right? Just whatever it is, right? That it is that we need. I go to my leadership to be able to do that. If it's on the city side, or you're working for a municipality, you still want to go to your leadership, but also, create a proposal, put something together, write it up, and being able to present it to the your leadership, that I'm presenting to your leadership, and go that route. Maybe those who are working in the community, being able to speak with your councilman, your city council members, um, about a concern. When there's a city council meeting, sign up for the meeting and be able to go and express the concern to them. Become active in your community when there are community meetings and they're posted. Show up to the meetings and speak with the other leaders in the community that may be experiencing may have the same concerns. Come together and again put something together, that's put it in writing, and then to build allies
Mhm.
for what you're working towards. But you gotta do your due diligence and be vocal. um those allies are very important, but if you don't speak about it, you don't get the data that's needed. And a lot of times, too, what helps some people, depending on who they are, You need some data to be able to show, okay, well, here's the number of people that are experiencing homelessness in my city. And out of 10,000 people, it appears that we've only been able to house 100. Why is that? I
Mhm.
mean, and then how much, how many dollars or how many programs or grants or whatever, how much money was allotted to your community or to your county to assist in those areas, and where is the money, how is the dollar spent, and how can we, or can we take that money and then rethink about how it's used, right? If we can see from the data that it didn't yield the results that we are looking for. So now let's figure out let's how to revamp a program or implement a new program, or implementing a new program, let's find which organization really have the skill set to help us fix this problem. So there's many ways that you can do that, but definitely say that you got to be vocal. You got to get into the face of the individuals that can help you, and you got to build the right allies.
So I believe I'm a strong believer, and it's an old cliche or proverb, whatever you want to call it. To whom much is given, much is to be expected. So if you have resources, biblically speaking, somewhere in the Bible I read that says, give to the poor, help the poor, right? Or to the least of these, right? And speaking of children and poor people and weak people, and oftentimes people prey on the weak or the homeless or children.
Mhm.
I mean, you see, there's a strong epidemic of children in this country and other countries, but specifically in the United States, with human sex trafficking and things of
Mhm.
that nature, where these children are actually being forced, they're kidnapped and becoming sex workers, and this is a part of abuse.
Mhm.
But as it relates to what we are talking about, homelessness, we don't. That's a whole different dialogue to have on a different panel. But what do you believe is misunderstood about homeless people or people who are experiencing homelessness and their needs? So, with these people who are in power or have, they have the ink pens in their hands and they can stroke the check and they can make it happen. What do you think is the missing piece, that missing component that's causing them not to, uh, I don't want to say celebrate, but to assess people in homeless? Are they thinking that people are homeless because they just don't care, or because they just threw their life away, or what? What is the temperature in the room based on what you've experienced about compassion and the needs of homeless people? What are people saying?
I think some people might just simply be removed. People may have never been homeless before, so think you don't know what it is. And someone could be homeless looking at you every day, and you don't know it, right? Because we have a perception of what homelessness look like. Homelessness can look like you and I. And just for a prime example, when I shared earlier on that, and when I experienced homelessness here in New York, I was in, I ended up securing full-time employment, but I was also in shelter. But I never once looked like my situation. And I came to work every day dressed to the nines, you know what I mean? And so you didn't know, but then when you started to, have conversations with people and dive deeper, then certain things are revealed. Um, sometimes people think that people are homeless because they necessarily want to, and then that's not so. They're falling on hard times. They've lost income. A loved one may have died or transitioned, and it changes the trajectory of their lives. Um, Mental health, substance abuse, compounded both, that they're experiencing both and maybe dual diagnosed and have never been treated, once and then the hopes is that they can become treated. So I think there's just a lot of things that people are uneducated about, and it's important for us to be able to share that information and to educate them so that we can um, bring them into the light and then find the most the best solution to be able to assist individuals that are experiencing homelessness in these different categories or areas to help them get back on track. There may be people like you and I, if we had experienced homelessness, we may be able to jump back on our feet really quickly, depending on um, our mental capacity, our education, our work experience, and maybe just our mindset. But there are others who are not. May not be that savvy or may not be as easy for them, so with that said, we have to continue to find a way. I think one thing that's been really interesting for me working in this capacity, last year I had the opportunity to go to DC for one of the largest homeless conferences in our country, and the one conversation that interests me the most was a conversation about homelessness and Black men. uh, I found it interesting because homelessness and Black men is the largest portion of the homeless population, and there is no official programming to help Black men, right? Why is
I
that?
gotta stop you there. Why is that, you think? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I would rather have a professional answer and not an assumption. Why is that, you think?
I think they just because they don't particularly care to.
When you
I
say
don't
they
think
don't particularly care to, do you mean the powers that be, white America? Or are you
I'm
talking
going to say the
about
powers
them?
that be, right?
Mm,
But then there are those of us who are in the community, working in the community, maybe smaller organizations that see it, right? They're in the shelter, there are boots on the ground, they're on the street, and they see this every day. Will help, will help the women and children. Don't get me wrong, right? Will help the women and children. Um, and as they should be assisted, right? But then, it's this ideology that, oh, men or Black men, they need to be stronger, they need to be this, and they need to sound. Well, they've been broken through for so many years from so many things. How do you expect somebody to get up on their feet and be this God, right? And or to a super person, and they've never been healed. There's never been a true path created to bring them to wholeness. How do we expect that? Right. So it's like as Black men and seeing other Black men that I have been in shelter and have seen some of the hardest men who spent 20, 30 years sit at my desk and literally cry to
mm,
me and break down. It's not because they don't want to, not because they desire to be in that place, but because what has been presented to them in life or what they've experienced, there hasn't been really any true to me program really designed to help them win. So I just feel like that's a disservice. And we'll put dollars in other places to help other sectors or other people, but not for them. But we have to do better. And I think that having these conversations and then leaving from these conversations and taking action is
yeah.
the thing that must happen. We can talk all day, but we got to find other ways to be able to do that. And I think that it could be different pockets of organizations that are planted around the country to do those things, or it can be one big organization, that comes together and do it. However, it needs to be done. But I found that conversation while at that conference to be the most phenomenal and most thought-provoking conversation that I've had with attending a conference, and it was a panel of educated, strong Black men who had talked about their journeys and where they've been and how they got there and why they are there sitting on that stage to rally and to be an advocate for Black men experiencing homelessness and to talk about the powers that be that don't that really are not servicing the community with the dollars and with the programming that's needed in order to see us win. It still is, unfortunately, unfortunately, many times is still a low key suppression. in a lot of
That's
ways.
kind of where I wanted to interject right there. And I think we're pretty much having a conversation here, this part of the conversation that Dr. Umar Johnson would find relevant to talk about resources, disparity, inequality. And Black people are definitely not looking for equality. I'm certainly not. We're just asking to be left the hell alone, right? Black Wall Street, burn it down. Forsyth, Georgia, and these people who were doing very well. It's a book that I have on my bookshelf that I read, Blood at the Roots, and talking about how white Americans came in and took the land and slaughtered, murdered, hanged in the early 1900s. Black families ran them out of there. Hanged them, had city lynchings. And so we have to look at this, and we don't need to tiptoe around this and lollygag around this, and understand that Black people, in particular Black men, I was reading something the other day talking about the melanin that they are using in software, right?
Hmm.
And and there's a lot of history about how there was the melanin used from a Black sister. I can't think of her name right now, that was used a while back and used her DNA and stuff like that. So what they are doing is that a lot of, for the most part of it, is that they are willing to rob, steal, kill, and destroy from us Black people, because at the end of the day, we are God's chosen people. And often the time, the
Hmm.
devil doesn't want to steal something from somebody that don't have nothing. If you see a person breaking into somebody's house, they breaking into somebody's house that has something. You don't hear break-ins at a homeless shelter. You don't hear break-ins and robberies at a homeless encampment. So the disparity is that in banks, jobs, medicine, healthcare, everything. If you're Black, you are at a disadvantage, because that's what white people do, is they steal from us and they kill us. There's a book that I haven't read it yet, but I believe it's called Guns, Steel, and Diseases, and they use the guns, steel, and diseases to depopulate, just like they did with COVID-19, right? Is to depopulate, and that those people who are poor and who are Black, is to destroy those people and pull them down, kill them, right? Elon Musk, prime example right now, through diversity, equity, inclusion, and stuff like that. And a lot of Black people are up at arms about that, when really we are not the highest recipients of the DEI. Abortion, you need to read this book called The Birth Dearth, where white people feel that there's not enough babies being born. So when they changed that law
Hmm.
about abortion, it didn't have a damn thing to do with women that you and I are related to. The fact of it is that they are afraid that Black people are going to become the majority.
Outnumbered.
They
Hmm.
become the minority, so they want white women to stop having abortions. Black women are not having abortions anyway, for two reasons. One, because of their socially and ethic upbringing. Two, because of their spiritual and religious upbringing. And number
Hmm.
three, because of financial hardship. Black women
Hardships.
can't afford
Hmm.
to have no damn abortions. It's white women are doing that because they don't want to screw up their careers. So what they're doing is stopping Heather and Jane and Maribel from having from having the abortions, make them have their children, because now you got what? More white votes.
White.
The votes is
Hmm.
the power. Whereas if Black people and people of a minority, or people who have beautiful melanated skin, or people who have color, and I don't even want to get into the whole thing about color, because I don't know why white people call Black people colored when they are the ones that's colored, not us. And I just want to dispel that myth. When I get you and I get sick, what color are we? Black.
Black.
When we get happy, what color are we?
Black.
When we get excited, what color do we get?
Black.
And when we die, what color do we get?
Stay
So it
black.
doesn't change. Now, white people, when they get upset, what color do they turn? Red,
Red.
right? When they die, what color do they turn?
Yellow.
Purple. When
Purple.
they're cold, what do they turn? Pale. You see what I'm saying? And when they get beat up or sick, what color do they turn? Blue. They turn on more damn colors than it is in a crayon box, but they have the audacity to refer to me and you as being colored. We're not colored. We are beautiful shades of blackness, and that's all it is. See, what the enemy will do is perpetuate a fraud to try to make you think that you are less than you are, and to try to put their
Hmm.
weakness, their pain, their insensitivity, their ignorance, and their mental health. Because when you deal with prejudice, that is mental health. How do you hate me because of the color of my skin? Hate me because I robbed you. Hate me because I slapped your mother. Hate me because I shot your son. Hate me because I broke into your home. Hate me because I came into your damn community and burned down your homes and your banks and your schools and your libraries and built our stuff. I'm not going there. I know this is the Dr. Umar
It's it's
Johnson.
interesting.
Let him
It's
have that.
But it's
Let
interesting
him.
how they can creating that when they state this you the way you just stated it
It's all
and
out of
then
fear,
wrap it up
man.
into a supremacy.
Right. Who
Uh
needs to be supreme over anything? Because God said in the Bible, let every man be power, be dominion over everything in the air and everything that crawls on the ground. This whole slave mentality is thievery. And yet we have been able, we are descendants of slavery through many generations, and we come out smiling. We don't have no damn attitude. Why do they hate us when they're the ones that's calling us violent and they're the ones that stole every damn thing that they have in this country? They stole it all,
mm,
they took it, they killed everybody and call us violent. They go and shoot up the schools and shoot. Who the hell shoot up the school with babies? Why do you go into an elementary school and kill the babies? Babies. You're 9-year-old babies. Our children are the future. And they going and shooting up senior citizens home. These people, the senior citizens, going to be dead in a few years anyway. You're shooting up the future. You're shooting the babies. You're going to get old. And who's going to take care of you? Who's going to make sure that things are okay for you? But they're pissed off because mom and dad said, no, you can't get you can't have an AR-15 rifle. So you wait till you get old enough and they go out and buy one just to shoot up the doggone school with the babies. You gotta have a mental problem to do that. I'm gonna get away
right,
from that little part because that's not what this is about. I got on my soapbox and I don't want this to become a pro-black thing. But at the end of the day, I know the shade of my skin. I was fired from my job as a probation officer because the color of my skin, but not the content of my character. And I walked in those halls every day and I smiled and I laughed. And when they fired me, I still walked out with joy. But look at me from where I've come to. And they thought they
mhm,
were hurting me, but what they did was set me up.
set you up.
Sometimes you have to say, God, turn my setbacks into comebacks. So,
Mhm.
so setting me back, the only thing it did was propelled me and set me up on a trajectory of success. And now I'm able to bring up more people with me. But I digress and I go back to this part. I love Dr. Umar Johnson, and one of the things he talks about all the time is when you marry outside of your race. That's what race is about. Race isn't about what we call I don't like you because of your skin. That's the BS that they try to tell us. Race is simply about money, trying to get all of the resources from
Mhm.
one group, trying to get all the resources for their group and taking it from another. It's called bigotry. I don't like you because of the color of my skin. And black people can't be racist because we don't have the financial uh, power, the money. We don't have nothing to be racist over. But we got a few more minutes here, and I want to ask a couple more questions here. We got
Sure.
about 5 more minutes before we have to move on to the next videos. And we're definitely looking forward to it, and we'll get into call to action. But I want to ask you, how do you personally address the stigma surrounding homelessness and sexuality at your work?
uh I just like simply having a conversation directly about it when when I see these things,
Mm.
um calling them out, and as well as having the sensitivity training, right, to be able to speak professionally and to speak to be able to articulate directly to the clients and to residents about these things, right? And just let them know like this is not these things won't be tolerated. And then also sometimes people just need to see a better way, right? They need to see a better way, not just be told, but to see a better way. And a lot of that opportunity comes from me showing up every day,
Mhm.
right? And being able to address these things and address them through my actions, not just or what I say to you every day, but how you see me carry myself and my follow through, my actions on those things,
Mhm.
and the resolve on those things, and to say like, okay, do it this way. And I got a lot of times people never had somebody to just take them and to lead them and guide them or to mentor them um, and coach them in a way that would be life changing. So again, when I sit down every day or when I enter the building, I enter the building for impact. I enter the building to create change. I enter the building to transform, to help to assist with transforming lives. And I think it's all about how you show up every day. Um, I don't think people think enough of themselves and leadership in order to show up every day, right? I think some things wouldn't happen if we really spent the time one to be with ourselves and be with our creator before we enter the day, and then to be able to know how to move strategically in order to impact people so that these things wouldn't be um a part of, these things don't have to be. So we can address those things head on, address them in creative ways to help people. And I think when you also have a chance to sit down, like just you and I have been able to connect and have had a great friendship over the years, of we've been able to talk. But it's interesting when you connect with a person and you figure out how to connect with them and how to be strategic with them and how to reach them. You can't do everything the same way for everybody. So we have to learn how to address people when we are or address situations when we as we work in our field or we work in our professions.
Mhm. Okay. So that brings me to a quote, makes me think of a quote. I don't, my father used to say this all the time. And because sometimes we have the notion to prejudge other people based on their current situation. Like a person is homeless, for example, and we look out the window from the back seat of our parents' Cadillac, for example, and see that that person is homeless. And as a child, look and giggle and laugh at that person because they're homeless. And my father would say to me, and he said it many times, one of the things he said, son, good manners will take you further in life than will money. And I found that to be true, even though I would disagree with him emphatically. But this other comment that he would say in a quote, and I've heard others say it, so I guess it's cliche, and that is, you don't know a man until you walked a mile in his shoes. Having said that, as you think about that, and when you deal with people in your approach, how do you approach building trust with those who you're working with to support?
One by showing up every day is a level of consistency and shows commitment to them, you to them
Mhm.
about their journey,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And then to help them to be help show them what it looks like to be committed to their journey and encourage them to say, okay, you're doing this for you. I may have never walked a mile in your shoes, right? But if I take the time to listen, listening to you can be everything, right? Just absolutely listen and listen with great intentionality, and to take what you've told me and to now um share it back to you, and then be able to bring things to you that will help you change based on me listening, to you. But I think a lot of times people, they listen to respond and not listen to bring change. I just want to respond, or I disagree. with you. And it's okay even if you disagree with the person, but at the end of the day, I have a responsibility to bring change to them. That's what I signed up for. I'm a change agent when I sit down. And I think that if we don't do that, then we do a disservice. It's easy to sit and judge. We can consider all kind of situations and be able to judge it. But I think when you work in social services and you work in these type of places, you have to leave all your biases and your prejudices, um, idiosyncrasies. You have to leave that stuff at the door, and you have to sit and be able to realize that you have one objective. That's objective, and that's to be able to properly assist and to save lives, for the people that you're serving. So it's necessary that we be very focused and sits and sympathetic, empathetic to the person's journey, um open. You got to be very open.
Mm. One of the things you talk about journeying, a lot of times people are in a situation, again, not to, I don't believe people choose to be homeless. Most people don't. Uh,
Right.
so sometimes we don't understand how people got to be where they are because we don't understand the choices. We say the decisions they made are poor decisions, but we don't understand the choices that they had to choose from. Some people are dealing with, they come out as LGBTQ or gay or bisexual to their parents, and their parents, they decide to cut them off, to disinherit them and kick them out in the street. And now they're left to the streets to raise them. Can you speak in maybe 30 to 45 seconds to speak to the people about people who are choosing from the choices or making decisions from the choices that they had, and maybe a way to embrace them with compassion?
Um, for those individuals who have experienced kind of being who have experienced being ostracized or rejected by your family, your parents, it's not over and all is not lost. You want to be able to um find the safety of individuals who will embrace you where you are, right? And give you great, great and tough love and be able to assist you and help you, aid you into getting to a whole place. But you have to be open to it as well. It's a relationship of reciprocity, which is necessary for you to win. So I would say you gotta, keep pushing and seek those who are genuinely want to help you. And then sometimes it can be really hard to find, but it is possible. Stay positive and continue to move towards people who have light, great light.
Awesome. So it's about coming together, community, and being compassionate. I want to end with this note before we go into part three. Just end with a quote. You may be where you are right now, but this is just temporary. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. There is a scope of hope for you. You have to continue to try. Look up because if you're looking up, then that means you can get up. Okay, those are the words of Les Brown. If you fall down, try to fall on your back. So if you can look up, you can get up. We've been talking to Mr. Jason Bunkley, Commissioner